How have we never covered this? The single most important aspect of Naruto's life, at least until Boruto, and we've never once discussed what his life would be like without it? Whoever recommended this one really struck pay dirt. So sit right back and gaze upon the Amagi's moon of Infinite Tsukuyomi and let's find out. Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, only 25% of our viewers are subscribed, so if you're a fan of the video, please like and double check if you are subscribed, and with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Upon one October night, a woman in travail was facing two separate battles altogether, but her attention span was spread so thin. How could she fight these two equally epic battles, both as important to her as her own life at the same time? Well, the answer was she couldn't. She needed support, she needed help, and help she acquired. Enter Minato Namikaze. He was the fourth Hokage at the time. As the leader of the village, it was his duty to ensure that the village was safe first and foremost, and prosperous thereafter. Tonight, he too was fighting two battles, and both involved the battles Kushina was currently fighting. So Minato himself needed to aid in the battle. As a soon-to-be father, he wished to help Kushina in that regard, but that was her own personal arena, where only she could fight. But she could not do so as long as the nine-tailed demon fox sealed within her continued to rampage against the barriers holding it in. That was Minato's job. Today, Minato's job was one of a Hokage in keeping his village safe. And in doing so, he could keep his love and his child safe. And so, his hands upon the seal, he began to funnel into the seal all of the strength he'd accumulated over the years. His passion told him to go hog wild and force all of his chakra in and forcefully subjugate the beast. But the logical half of him reminded him that if he did such a thing, he could only hold it for so long, and even then there is no guarantee that his chakra reserves would be anything at all compared to the Nine Tails. Such a hateful yet majestic creature should receive respect in his eyes, and to such an end he chose a more controlled and steady stream of chakra with which to keep the beast at bay. After all, he was not physically fighting against the Nine Tails. It was the seal that had him chained that was doing the fighting. Minato was merely custodian of the links to ensure that no weak ones were discovered, and if they were, to strengthen them. He was merely running interference, and that was okay. He heard the cries of his wife as the passion of new life forced her to transcend her bodily limits to the point that she felt as if she were maiming herself just to bring this new life into the world. And any woman to ever give birth would agree more or less that this is how it would felt. Sometimes that's how it was. That's why you love and respect your mothers, dear viewer. Despite not being the one in actual pain here, Minato felt within his heart a certain kind of pain. To know that she was so desperately fighting and hurting herself in a form of love, and that she would sacrifice anything in this moment, her body, her health, her life, all three on the line in this one moment, and she was doing it for the sole purpose of giving new life to the being that soon would be called Naruto. Minato wanted to cry for happiness, cry in pain of seeing his wife in the throes of labor, but he didn't. This was no time for tears. This was time for control. It wasn't like the Nine Tails didn't detect this. It was an empathetic creature, in that it could use its senses to know what you were feeling. Such a gift of an ability should be used for good, and Minato assumed that it had been planned to be that way. But just as Lucifer, once an angel of light, corrupted his purpose, fell and became Prince of Darkness, the Nine Tails also must have corrupted his purpose, maintaining the same abilities as before, but only to use them selfishly, for his own advantage. And right now, he was doing just that. In an effort to force Minato to lose emotional control, he focused on the chakra that was coming in to send a message to his mind. After all, their chakras were now connected. That meant Minato was now a part of Kurama just as much as Kurama was a part of him. If not for this seal, Kurama could have even used this moment to jump bodies, but the seal remained. Kurama wanted to corrupt Minato's hold on it and cause him to lose the ability to enforce the binding curse on the beast. Using the craftiness of a fox, he spoke. "Namikaze, she's going to die. Can you not hear her voice? Can you not hear her cries? Your wife, your other half, is dying in childbirth. Will you do nothing to save her?" Minato shook his head, ignoring it. After all, that's what you do to a troll. Don't feed it. Ignore it till it goes away. Kurama spoke again. "What is this I see? Is that an artery? You know, a woman is so vulnerable while giving birth. This one artery, if I were to sever it, why, that would be the end of her life, wouldn't it?" Minato tried to force the beast out of his head, because ignoring the troll was not going to help much if the troll already knew he was in emotional anguish, and Kurama did. In that moment, Kurama forced an image into his head, a scenario. "I can't stop the bleeding," Biwako would shout in this twisted version of a possible future. He saw Kushina's eyes glaze as she smiled and begged him to take care of the baby. Minato refused to let her die, but what could he do? He wasn't God, he was just a man in a robe holding a fresh child. "I will kill her. No, I'll kill them both, her and the child." Minato began increasing his potency as not to only enforce the seal, but to punish Kurama. But as he did so, he gazed upon its face and saw the smile. He then realized that this was a trap. He pulled back and continued to remain steady. Kurama's smile turned into a scowl quickly. Minato took a deep breath. "You have no control, Kurama. If you could kill your host, you would have already. You can't, so be silent." Kurama faded back into the darkness, only his eyes and teeth visible now. "We shall see." And with that, a new cry could be heard, the wailing of an infant. And that, my friends, was the birth of Naruto. But I'm sure you all remember that this is not the end of the story. No, not by a long shot. It's not long before a certain masked individual appears to take Kushina and hold Naruto hostage. In an attempt to rescue his newborn son, he leaves his wife open for attack, which results in her being taken by this masked man. Minato rushes to the battlefield to take back his wife before the seal could be broken, but Obito was quick. He was crafty, he was smart. The beast was already released by the time Minato got there, and all Minato could do was remember Kurama's last words to him. This man had made Minato a liar, and that anger and rage, the rage at what became of his wife, the rage that he'd been made a fool of and his village and family threatened, it made Minato's blood boil. But he maintained control. It was not yet time to lose control. The two dueled, though this was not the interaction he assumed he would have. After all, this man was intangible. He couldn't be touched. What was one to do? No, he wasn't intangible. Not all the time. He was selectively intangible, and all Minato had to do was trick that. And so he did. Flying Raijin, Minato's own speed. He would outspeed the intangibility, but he would need to do so with enough force to put the man out of commission in one shot, as there was no guarantee that he would get a second chance. And so he poured so much of his emotion into the formation of a Rasengan and then smashed it into the man's back. The man was obviously heavily damaged by this. In fact, one of his arms grotesquely fell off in response to the attack. He attempted to speak with Minato and taunt him more, but Minato had yet to officially return the cap to his anger. And in a short moment, he crossed the distance and stabbed the man. In that moment, he poured all of his wrath, all of his anger into a single strike. He wanted the man to suffer, to feel agony. He attempted to twist the blade, hoping and praying that every jerk through the man's abdomen severed another line of his intestines. Of course, he would not be so fortunate. The man was far from dead or dying, and a moment later, he decided to retreat from battle. But now Minato had to deal with the Ninetales. Bringing it back to his home, it was declared by Kushina that she would seal the beast into herself. And Minato, seeing only the option of sealing it into Naruto or himself as alternate, decided it would be best to agree with Kushina's plan, even if it didn't save her life. He knew there could be repercussions to not putting the beast inside of Naruto, but he couldn't force such a fate, such an existence, upon his own beloved son. And so he and Kushina began to seal Kurama back into her. Of course, Kurama fought back, but they were sealing him regardless. Halfway through, Kushina's chakra reserves began to finally give out, and so Minato did the only thing he could think of. Used the only real sealing technique he knew in the moment. He weaved the signs and offered his soul to the Reaper in exchange for its help in sealing the beast away, and it obliged. It would seal the beast back into Kushina. She would fall to her knees, and Minato was not far behind. They looked at each other and knew they would die. They looked back only for a moment at Naruto, and Minato spoke. "Do you think I made a good decision?" Kushina also looked back. "I can never tell. The future is always moving. But I know you made your decision out of love for your child. It couldn't have been wrong." She looked over and found that Minato had already died. She held him in her arms for comfort as she too slowly slipped from existence, dragging Kurama with her. And in that moment, it was all over. Hiruzen would soon find Naruto and would take him up in his arms, vowing to take care of the child as Minato would have wanted. But what would come next? Even though Konoha was safe, they had lost their tailed beast. What would become of Konoha? Only time would tell. As originally seen, the suspicions that the Uchiha had a hand in the near destruction of the village, as well as being relegated to life on the very edge of the village as if being told they were no longer part of it and remained only out of courtesy, would lead to an uprising. One that would quickly be quelled by Itachi and one particular masked individual. The Uchiha were gone. And as for the Hyuga, well, that affair occurred as it always does, but due to Hiruzen's weakness, Konoha's weakness, and all manner of other excuses, Hiruzen allowed the death and delivery of Hisashi Hyuga to Kumo in an effort to bring peace. And so, once more, peace returned to the village. But as time passed, rumors began to abound that people with special jutsu in their bloodline were going missing. And after investigation, it became known that this was actually Orochimaru, one of Hiruzen's own students. But instead of killing him like any self-respecting Hokage might do, his weakness and love for his fallen student led to him sparing Orochimaru, allowing him to escape. This would result in the complete destruction of the Iburi clan, as well as the formation of Otogakure, soon to be rival nation to Konoha. Hiruzen's return as Hokage was once again marked with failure after failure, proving that he was never good enough to be Hokage and stoking his belief within himself that Tobirama had made the wrong decision. But all the while, he continued to watch over Naruto, even keeping him in the Hokage's residence with him. Now, why, do you ask? Do I insinuate that Hiruzen is actually raising Naruto right now when he never personally raised him in the previous series, nor Sasuke? Well, my belief here is simple. I believe that he would because Naruto is technically the son of the Hokage that should be where Hiruzen is now, so that's one reason why Naruto would get extra special treatment. But then again, he did also have that in the original series, so what is it? Well, the truth of the matter is because Naruto doesn't have the Nine Tails inside of him. Even if Hiruzen didn't hate Naruto, he did not wish for him to be in the same home with him for many reasons, one of which was a danger factor that if Naruto lost control, he might destroy the heart of the village, which is why they put him in a relatively poor part of town instead. But furthermore, the fear of public outcry was another reason why he didn't keep Naruto close to him. Hiruzen was too afraid to keep him close by because he was afraid of what people might think. This is the same reason why Hiruzen created the new rule to hide Naruto's true identity from him, consigning the rest of the village to a vow of silence. But he certainly didn't attempt to stop them from treating them however they wanted. Hiruzen was always too afraid to take responsibility for Naruto due to him being a Jinchuriki. Maybe he had fear that what was left of his dignity and honor might be robbed from him, or perhaps he feared that all of his failures, mixed with him harboring the Jinchuriki, would have led to such public outcry that it could have led into a revolt and ultimately destroyed Konoha. This is simply what I assume, but now that the Nine Tails is gone and Naruto isn't a Jinchuriki, I don't see any reason why this would be the case. After all, the villagers don't hate Naruto anymore, and so Hiruzen would only be seen as a kind and loving man for adopting Naruto. All in all, I believe that Naruto would live with Hiruzen in the Hokage's residence. There, he would more than likely be raised alongside Konohamaru, being treated as the elder brother of the boy. You know, I always wondered where Konohamaru's parents went. Oh well. Either way, Hiruzen now has two boys growing up inside his home, and he has no reason to hide Naruto's lineage from him. And so these two boys, Naruto and Konohamaru, forge a rivalry together, due to both wishing to take the job of Hiruzen one day. Konohamaru feels entitled to it due to being Hiruzen's grandson, and Naruto feels entitled to it due to being the son of Minato Namikaze. But Hiruzen reminds them both that nobody is entitled to the job, and that it always falls upon the strong, so they both need to train together to grow stronger, and surpass one another if they hope to become Hokage. And so the two boys funnel their time and training into surpassing one another, with many a private tutor being given to each to help them learn. But due to Naruto being a few years older, he gets a leg up on Konohamaru as he's stronger than the boy and also gets to go to the academy for more general training. All of this brings a smile to the face of Hiruzen, who is happy to see the next generation so fired up about becoming stronger. But his happiness quickly turns into a depressive state as he realizes why these boys will need to become strong. Over time, since Minato and Kushina's deaths, the village had received threat after threat. As it turns out, the Hyuga affair wasn't just about the Hyuga alone, but was also checking to see if a certain rumor were true. Kumo had discovered that Konoha lost its tailed beast and no longer had it in their possession. And in the recent years, after stockpiling weapons and jutsu, Kumo, along with a few others who had wanted to see the end of Konoha, had banded together. Kumo, Suna, and Oto Gakure had all thrown in their lots together. Suna and Kumo both still had their tailed beasts, with Kumo possessing 2 as opposed to Suna's 1. That's right, they were currently in the middle of the 4th Shinobi World War, and every day teams were sent out upon missions, and Hiruzen knew that the moment that Naruto and Konohamaru were old enough to be shinobi, the moment they became genin, they would quickly earn their stripes on the battlefield. If only they remained in possession of the Nine-Tails, this would not have happened. But without their main deterrent, Konoha had lost its ability to defend itself from a greater threat. And while Konoha was able to push off the tailed beasts, the war was not looking good for them. With the destruction of the Uchiha, roughly half of Konoha's fighting ability had been depleted. The Sharingan was the only real common jutsu that Konoha had that could deal with tailed beasts. With its genjutsu prowess, it could control the beasts, and with the rarer Mangekyo, it could not only subjugate them with force, but anyone else via the Susanoo. And now, they were gone. It was only due to the ingenuity of the rest of Konoha's mighty clans. The Byakugan was in no way powerful enough to completely subjugate a tailed beast like a Sharingan could, but it did have the benefit of finding the weak point of anything it looked at, and that included tailed beasts and their Jinchuriki. To that end, the Hyuga had been on the many teams to counter Jinchuriki on the battlefield, but frankly the best thing they could wish for is that Kurama could finally reappear to be captured. Why was it taking so long to reform? Tailed beasts had been killed in battle before, so why was Kurama taking so long? The Three Tails had been killed on 2 separate occasions, and its reemergence had been seen after about 3 years had passed. So what was wrong with Kurama? Theories had gone around, and Hiruzen agreed with at least one of them. In one theory, it was proposed that because Kurama was the strongest of all 9 beasts, that it simply meant his body was comprised of a lot more chakra, tightly condensed down. This would also mean that should he die, it would take longer for him to reform, as it would take more natural energy to be transformed into tailed beast chakra for him to form a body of. But it had been years since this had happened, over 12, close to 13. How much more chakra did Kurama possess? There was no way to tell, and all they could do was wait and hope it was soon. These were the thoughts in Hiruzen's head as he looked out the window of the Hokage's residence. He saw Naruto walking up the road toward the academy. This put a smile on his face. While things truly were horrible, at least life continued to move along at a steady pace here in the village. Naruto was smiling as he walked the streets toward the academy. "Good morning, honored son," one of the villagers called out. Naruto waved. Another one passed him by, an elderly woman. She stopped for just a moment to pinch his cheeks. "Oh, how adorable. Little Naruto Namikaze. You look exactly like your father did at this age. Are you going to become Hokage and lead the village to peace too? Or do you have other dreams, dear?" Naruto smiled. "I'm going to get strong for my village, and then when Mr. Hiruzen retires, I'll take his place and honor the legacy of my father." Naruto had been asked this question a lot, so he had gone ahead and practiced the answer time and time again. Every morning he would wake up and look into the mirror and recite that same quote to himself before going out. And now it was second nature to him, and it wasn't a lie either. Even if he did say it out of muscle memory, it was still his dream and what he planned to do, and he had not deviated from that course, nor would he. The woman would smile brightly and pinch his cheeks again, as elderly women often did to cute kids they saw, and would then pat his head. "You would make your father proud, Naruto. Now hurry along to school, I don't mean to hold you up." Naruto waved it off. "Nah, it's fine. It was a pleasure to talk to you, Miss Fuyutsuki." He would then continue on his way toward the academy. Once he was there, he'd be greeted by all the girls who thought he was just the bee's knees. He'd take his seat near Sakura and Sasuke, the former gazing non-stop at Sasuke, the latter gazing darkly toward the blackboard as always. Ever the prickly cucumber, Naruto thought as he got things ready. He got his books out, ready to learn all the more. Naruto always did well at the academy. There were many things he didn't get all the time, but he was instructed by Hiruzen to write down the things he didn't understand and then bring it home with him. If he did that, the various tutors that he had would explain it to him, and once they helped him get started, Naruto began picking things up quite quickly. He went from below average to above average so quickly that it'd make your head spin. And this was all due to the fact that he actually had people to teach him when he got home. And yes, this is what I actually believe would have happened if Naruto had no tailed beast. Naruto isn't stupid. Naruto can figure many things out all on his own, and his ability to make use of the multi-shadow clone jutsu is just proof that he can do these things. But because no one ever gave him the light of day, his ability to learn suffered. Naruto's a genius, and this can be reflected in Boruto as well, but because Naruto never had anyone to teach him, he always fell behind in class. So in a world where Naruto is not a Jinchuriki and has people to actually help him learn, he would probably excel at the academy. Naruto looked over. He had never been particularly close with Sasuke. Despite having lost his family at a young age, just like Sasuke, Naruto never remembered them and therefore felt a little pain from their loss. He would oftentimes feel the desire to have a mother and often did think what his life would have been like had his parents survived. But Naruto was far from alone. He had many people in his life. He had Hiruzen as a grandfather, Konohamaru as a brother, and Asuma as an uncle. He didn't have any women in his life besides the few maidservants that often helped take care of the Hokage's residence for Hiruzen, but all the same, he had no women in his life whatsoever, and due to that, he seemed a little awkward around Sakura, the girl he had a crush on. He liked her, but didn't know when too much was too much, and so Naruto's connection to these two shinobi he considered friends was quite loose. Sakura couldn't care less about him, and Sasuke never connected well. But all the same, Naruto considered them friends, though he was probably closer to the Ino Shikacho trio if anything. After all, these three were the children of the most prestigious clans in the village, so Naruto would often be exposed to them due to Hiruzen meeting with their parents. And just as the parents of people constantly doing business with others, they wanted their children to go along. But that was fine. Naruto and Shikamaru hit it off real well, as did Choji and Ino. Ino, in fact, was constantly trying to get Naruto to introduce her to Sasuke, hoping to get a leg up on Sakura as displaying herself as a powerful woman with connections to the Hokage. Naruto was happy to do so as well because he knew that if it helped Ino ruin Sakura's chances with Sasuke, that maybe Sakura would have no other choice but to turn to Naruto. It may have been a little dirty, but you know what they say, all is fair in love and war, and right now, Naruto was at war with Sasuke's charm and the prize was Sakura. Despite this, they all had a relatively close relationship with each other. Even Ino and Sakura, despite being rivals, attempted to befriend each other. Naruto had wished to be on the same team as Shikamaru, but he knew this wouldn't happen, as Hiruzen had told him that it was a long-standing tradition that the heirs of the Yamanaka, Nara, and Akamichi clans all be placed on the same team. Together, they were Konoha's trump card, their winning hand in this international game of Koikoi, their Ino Shikacho, and so Naruto began running the variables on which team he would end up on. It was possible that he could end up on a team with maybe Hinata Hyuga, since she was a powerful heiress as well, and would be more likely to be on a team with him than someone who was unknown, like Rock Lee. Poor fella. Naruto felt bad as it seemed nobody wanted to be on his team due to his lack of ninjutsu capability. Naruto began running the chances through his head of who else might be on this team. Well, it was possible that he'd be with Neji, as both Neji and Hinata were kinda like a package deal, since Neji was designated as Hinata's retainer, though this seemed unlikely. Perhaps it could be Shino Aburame, due to his connection to the head of the Aburame clan, or Kiba Inuzuka for the same reason. Nope, he was placed on the same team as Sakura and Sasuke. Of course, Naruto had no issue being on a team with Sakura, as he thought it might better his chances of wooing her. But Sasuke? Come on, give me a break, Naruto would plead with Iruka. He would tell him that he should be on a team with a more prestigious member of the village, with the child of a clan head. Iruka would look to Naruto and tell him that he was. Naruto was confused. Sasuke? Head of a clan? Head of what clan? Iruka would tell him that he was the clan heir of the Uchiha. Being the last surviving member doesn't entitle you to be called the heir and child of the clan head. No, Naruto, Iruka would say. Before the Uchiha clan fell, the head of the clan was Fugaku Uchiha, and Fugaku had 2 children, one of which was Sasuke. So Sasuke is technically a clan head, and even if his clan is currently defunct, it's not likely to remain that way forever. You will be Konoha's way of reaching out and helping grow this upcoming Uchiha clan. The Uchiha were one of the 2 founding clans, so their destruction truly shook Konoha, and it certainly didn't help us any when the war began. In fact, it's believed that their destruction is what led to the beginning of this war in the first place. Their destruction and the loss of the Nine Tails that was stored inside of your mother. So it's best to put you on a team with Sasuke Uchiha. It'll serve to grow relations between Konoha and the clan he will build. Call it sowing the seeds to a great relationship. Naruto listened and realized that this was true. Sasuke was going to eventually be more than the last Uchiha. And if he also was the child of the clan's final head, then that title did lawfully pass to him, so Naruto obliged. I mean, he was the only kid to be able to claim that he was head of his own clan and actually be taken seriously, so the move made sense. Due to this, Naruto would calm down and accept his place on Team 7. They would then be introduced to their instructor, Kakashi Hatake. Naruto was surprised to hear that Kakashi was the last surviving member of Team Minato, the team run by Naruto's own father. So to be trained by this man almost felt as if it were his own father training them, as all of the knowledge and teachings that Minato poured into Kakashi would then be poured into Naruto. This pleased him immensely. To say that Naruto was excited to learn from him was an understatement. The introduction is mostly the same, save Naruto doesn't prank Kakashi. Naruto has an image to uphold after all. The trio and their new master would then go through their self-explanations for themselves, and this doesn't really change much except for Naruto's reasoning. Instead of wanting to become Hokage to be respected by everyone, he wishes to honor the legacy of his father, the 4th Hokage. That's literally the only thing that changes here at all. Kakashi would take them out for their first test. Of course, he tells them that should they fail the test, he will send them back to the academy. The test is simple. Get the bells from him before sunset. If they fail to do so, Kakashi will not train them. This puts a bit of panic into the team's hearts as they rush Kakashi to get the bells. Naruto goes in head first, attempting to even use his shadow clone jutsu to get close. He's surprised though, because Kakashi easily dodges and avoids the attacks, taking out both Naruto and his clones before utterly humiliating him with his secret technique, 1,000 years of death. Naruto hits the water, his pride as hurt as his rear. He makes it a point to be sure to get these bells all by himself, because if he doesn't, he'll never reclaim his pride back from Kakashi. And so he begins enacting plans to get the better of Kakashi, setting up dummies, attempting to make decoys, set traps, but every time Kakashi gets close, Naruto fails to catch him. It's like Kakashi has eyes on the back of his head. Naruto can't seem to get the drop on him for anything. Kakashi tries to give Naruto a hint by telling him that he's missing the point and that he just needs to accept that he'll never beat Kakashi in a fair fight. This only serves to anger Naruto more, and so when noon comes, it's time for lunch. Kakashi tells them all to eat up as much as they can as they'll need their strength. Naruto eats his food and sits there silently, trying to think up a plan to get the best of Kakashi. He thinks about what he said. I'm missing the point, huh? What's the point? I'll never beat him in a fair fight? What's that supposed to mean? Naruto thinks about it even harder. I'll have to cheat to win. No wait. If I cheat, then I'll pass the test but lose my pride. He looks over. I could ask for their help. If I do, maybe we'd have a better chance at getting the bells. Naruto thinks on it a bit longer, but decides that it's not worth it and simply goes back to his plan to get it all by himself. After all, his honor's on the line. He can't simply overlook that 1,000 years of death technique. Nobody humiliates him like that. And so the second round begins. Naruto attempts once more to set up more elaborate tricks, better traps. When these all fail, Naruto realizes he'll have to pull out the big guns. All those years playing Mousetrap with Hiruzen and Konohamaru were about to pay off. He begins setting up his biggest trap yet, with as many fail-safes as possible. I'm talking ropes, darts, pitfalls, anything he can think of, he adds it in. Alright, if he dodges this, then he'll have to go here. Then I'll spring this trap. It's unlikely, but if he dodges that as well, his only choice is to go here where the darts will get him. There's no way he can dodge that, but even if he can, it'll cause him to let his guard down. And if he attempts to flee, he'll be run right over by my expertly hidden tiger trap. It wasn't as expertly hidden as Naruto thought, but he was proud of it. Unbeknownst to Naruto, Kakashi was watching the whole thing. He decided to humor Naruto and humiliate him once again to see if he couldn't finally drive home the point of why he needed to work with others. Kakashi was just way out of Naruto's league to be taken down 1v1, and that was the entire point of the exercise. He would wait for Naruto to hide and then give it a few moments before he would jump down and begin to make his way into the trap. Naruto must have thought it was a miracle, but Kakashi stepped on the first trap's pressure plate. A log came swinging down after him. Kakashi would dodge into a rope trap that would pull him up by his foot. As he was caught by his foot, a bunch of kunai were flung at him. He would throw a kunai into them, causing that single kunai to deflect them, all before passing back towards himself through the rope that held him by his foot. He landed nimbly like a cat and began to run before falling into the pit. He let out a muffled cry as he hit the ground. Naruto, eager to get the bells, ran to the pit to check it out. He looked in and saw Kakashi at the bottom, but before he could go in and get the bells, the Kakashi he saw went up in a puff of smoke. A shadow clone. From behind, Kakashi spoke. What are you looking at? He then subjected Naruto once more to his secret technique, causing him to fly up into the air like a rocket, all before falling down face first into the hole. Naruto shouted up at Kakashi, cursing him out. Kakashi moved on. Did Naruto learn from this? No, he didn't even try to link up with Sasuke and Sakura, and that was a true shame. As the day came to an end, Kakashi called them back to the meeting point where he informed them that they had failed and would be sent back to the academy unless they could otherwise change his mind. He was hoping at the very least that Naruto could understand what he did wrong. If Naruto could at least admit that he needed teamwork, he would let them slide. But instead, Naruto spoke differently. "You can't send me back to the academy. Don't you know who I am? I'm the son of the 4th Hokage, Minato Namikaze, your old master. I don't have time for this. I gotta get stronger. You have to teach me." Kakashi sighed. "You see, that's why I'm not going to train you three. You didn't even consider working as a team. You all fought for your own pride to make yourselves look good. Sasuke, you did it to prove you were stronger. Sakura, you did it to prove yourself to Sasuke. And Naruto, you did it because you were offended that I was stronger and more experienced than you. I would have trained you all anyway if you had gotten the point of the test, that it was to foster teamwork, but no. I mean, Sakura and Sasuke both mentioned a moment ago that they should have worked together, but not you, Naruto. You instead attempted to strong-arm me into passing you with your entitlement. That's disgusting. And because one of you failed, you all failed." Kakashi went to leave, but before he did, he looked back. "Oh, and by the way, Naruto, this test I gave you was the same your father gave me. If your father were here giving you this test, then he would have failed you too." Kakashi walked off. Sasuke and Sakura looked down. "I guess it's back to the academy with us." Sasuke looked up at Naruto. "Thanks a lot, Naruto. You screwed this up for everyone." Naruto looked down in shame as they spoke about it. He knew what he had to do. He chased after Kakashi. "Please, Kakashi-sensei, wait." Kakashi didn't even look back. "I've already made my decision. Just go home. I'll explain it to the academy tomorrow and they'll give you a new instructor." Naruto shook his head. "No, Kakashi-sensei, please, just listen." Kakashi looked back. "What is it then?" Naruto spoke. "I was selfish and unfair. You're right. I failed this test, and I deserve to be sent back to the academy. But as you said, Sakura and Sasuke both figured it out. They figured out that it was teamwork we needed, but I was too absorbed in my personal vendetta, my own pride. Please, they don't deserve to fail because of my indiscretion. Send me back alone and take them." Naruto lowered down to his hands and knees to beg for this. "Please, Kakashi-sensei, don't punish them for my actions. I know now that a team stands together and falls together. But allow me this last selfishness, train the team, and simply replace me with a more worthy shinobi." Kakashi was moved by this display and came to believe that maybe, just maybe, Naruto was beginning to understand that his past and his connections to the Hokage did not give him special privileges. He felt he was growing as a shinobi and had finally understood the lesson Kakashi was trying to teach him. And so he would decide to take all of Team 7 on as his students, Naruto included. All the same, their job would not be easy. After all, it was during the 4th Shinobi World War, but so long as the team stuck together, Kakashi was certain the team could make it through. Naruto was bored out of his mind. This was just absolutely the pits. "I knew that shinobi had to do odd jobs sometimes, but this is not what I had in mind," he said. Kakashi, sitting under the shade of a tree, nose deep in some erotic rubbish he called a good story, spoke without even removing his eyes from the weathered pages. It's what genin do. Just from the look of it, he had already read this one before, perhaps multiple times, based on how the paperback spine was wrinkled, frayed, and the glue holding each page to the flimsy book was starting to wear away. It was beginning to look like a relic from centuries past due to wear and tear. "I know, but I mean, it's literally all we're doing. Don't we get to go out of the village and, actually help people?" he asked. "No job is too big or too small. Shinobi are civil servants. We work to help others, not ourselves. Just keep it up. Whether you're fighting off a band of rebels attempting to bring down a foreign-friendly government or merely walking a dog, service is service, and it's something to be proud of." "I know," Naruto said in a tone that showed obvious disappointment, "but is it so wrong for me to wish that we would get a real job where we could actually do something outside the village? A chance at a real mission? Like the ones you did when you were younger?" Kakashi looked over his book for the first time since the conversation began. "Like I did when I was younger." Naruto nodded. "Yep. I read your file. You were Dad's student after all, and you're my master. You're the connection to Dad I never knew, so how could I not study up on you?" Kakashi returned his gaze to the book. "If you read my file, then you should know why those kinds of missions aren't all they're cracked up to be. If I had a chance to go back, I would want nothing but missions like you have now." "Why?" Naruto asked. Kakashi was mid-page turn when Naruto asked that question. He sat for a moment before completing the action. "Because it was the 3rd Shinobi World War. A lot of people died, and I had to kill a lot of people. Those are things that can't be unseen, can't be undone. You'll never be the same when you watch people die, no matter who it is or what side they're on. Just because they're another nationality or from a different village doesn't change that they're still human like you and me. Humans with goals, dreams, and aspirations. All things that will never be fulfilled because they were cut down in the prime of their life. When you do those things, you think darkly. What if this person was going to discover the cure to cancer? Or what if this person was going to have a child that would bring peace to the whole world? Every life taken affects the world, Naruto, in ways we can never know. That's why I envy you and your innocence. You never had to see that. And though you're growing up in the era of the 4th Shinobi World War, your days are spent relatively peacefully. I hope you'll never have to see that. Kakashi's gaze caught upon Sasuke, the last bearer of the copy wheel eye. I don't want you to experience what I had to experience. Naruto looked to Sasuke and remembered how Kakashi's file mentioned the fate of his team, and the final gift, the last memento he kept from them, a treasured jutsu. Naruto's heart melted for his master. Yes, master, I understand. Forgive me for being rash. Kakashi's expression softened. No need to apologize, Naruto. Every fresh recruit seeks action. I just want you to fully appreciate the here and now. So often we take what we have for granted, not knowing what it's worth until it's gone. And so from that point, Naruto did not complain about his mission. He completed it with silence and contemplation, which made Kakashi proud. Kakashi realized this about Naruto. He had been prideful and he sought needless action. He always wanted to prove himself, but he was also very open to learning and trying to be the best him he could be. There were times where he could be blind about himself, who he was, and the issues present in this perfection facade he had grown to believe was true. But when faced with imperfection, he was quick to accept it and adapt to become what true perfection could be considered. Bearing weights on his shoulders, the legacy of the 4th Hokage and the reputation of the 3rd Hokage, Naruto was constantly attempting to become better and better, and that was a quality Kakashi admired. Forget his pride. When faced with reality, he quickly changed to become better. That was a trait worth anything. It didn't matter how entitled or prideful he acted. If Kakashi pointed out his flaws, Naruto worked to fix them in a humble and benevolent way. This gave Kakashi hope for the future. But all the same, he worried about Sasuke. Sasuke's path was one that led him quietly down a dark road, alone. And unlike Naruto, he was not as open to examining himself. It's not as if Sasuke actually cared what anyone thought, and that was sad and terrifying at the same time. Well, time passes as it continues to do. Nobody can hold back the hands of the clock, and eventually it moves forward, bringing with it new change. It just so happened that a mission to the Land of Waves came around, and Hiruzen felt confident enough to send Team 7. After all, it's just a slight guarding mission to ensure that the bridge worker is not attacked by bandits on the way back to his village. And so Kakashi accepts the mission. He knows that Naruto and the others are likely very restless, and that Naruto would like to have a mission with the possibility of action, even if he no longer said so. And so Kakashi takes the mission. The 4 of them meet with the bridge worker named Tazuna and begin to make their way to the Land of Waves. On the way, they pass through a warm and slightly steamy area, the heat quickly warming the cool water through there, creating a thick layer of fog. Despite the simplicity of this mission, Kakashi can't help but be on edge. He feels like at any moment something might just jump out of the fog at them and kill them, but perhaps that's just his own paranoia speaking. After all, they're not still at war, and this isn't a high-risk mission. This is an easy mission, all things considered. As they walk, though, things begin to stand out to Kakashi. He can't place a finger on it, but certain things just feel out of place. It's then that they're ambushed. Kakashi is ensnared in a chain. At the last moment, he makes use of substitution jutsu to escape his own demise. As soon as he reappears though, he makes his way toward Naruto and the rest of them, knowing that whoever could pull off such a jutsu like this couldn't be standard bandits. He sees them jump toward Naruto and Naruto freezes. He's going to be killed, Kakashi thinks within himself. He's going to be killed, Kakashi thinks within himself. He's going to be killed. Kakashi's hand is coated in lightning-style chakra as he prepares a Chidori, but even with the speed of this ninjutsu, he can't be absolutely certain that he'll make it in time. As he moves forward, Sasuke surprises him by jumping into the air and catching these 2 mercenaries and beating them senseless before tying them up with their own weapon. Kakashi is surprised by the strength and power of Sasuke to be able to do that, but what matters now is checking up on Naruto. He walks over and kneels down to see Naruto staring at the ground, wide-eyed, unblinking. "Naruto, are you okay?" I froze," he said. Kakashi didn't expect this statement. He was expecting something to the effect of, "I almost died." "Yes, you froze," Kakashi said. "It's a natural reaction. Some people do that. It's the fight or flight response getting hung up. Everyone does it." Naruto looked up. "I don't want to do it." "You can't exactly stop yourself, Naruto." "I won't do it." Kakashi looked at him curiously. Naruto would take a kunai and stab it into the back of his hand. "What are you doing?" Kakashi demanded to know. "I swear it. I'm never gonna freeze again. I swear it on this wound and on this blood." Kakashi watched as the blood fell from the wound and splattered onto the ground. "Well, that's all well and good, Naruto, but if you don't stop the bleeding, you're going to die." Naruto's face turned pale. "Die?" A moment passed. "Hurry up and save me then!" Naruto cried out. Kakashi took the hand and looked it over. It was bleeding pretty badly. Getting out the first aid kit, he applied some alcohol to the wound and then a styptic to stop the bleeding. He proceeded to stitch it up as best he could and then wrapped it up in a cloth bandage. "There. That should fix it, but next time you feel the need to swear on something, try swearing on your life or your mother's grave. Something that won't kill you in the process of swearing." Naruto nodded and took this to heart. "Now, as for you," Kakashi said as he turned around to face Tazuna, "you knew about this, didn't you?" Tazuna shook his head. How was I supposed to know?" Kakashi stood there, staring into the man's eyes. "Don't lie to me," he said. "These weren't your average bandits. These were highly skilled and trained shinobi, mercenaries. I recognize their name from the bingo book. They're expensive. They don't just try to kill people for no reason. They were hired. So tell me now, who was it that hired them, and why do they want you dead?" Tazuna then began to tell a tale. "The village I come from is technically an island. It's just off the coast of the Land of Fire. We used to be a happy little village, but a few years back, a brutal crime lord moved in. He began charging absurd taxes on us to do business, taking a large piece of our already meager pie. He gets most of his funds from extortion, not allowing anyone to pass to the mainland and back unless they pay a hefty tax. And so, we're attempting to simply build a bridge over the ocean so we no longer have to take his ferries, but Gato doesn't want that. And so he sent mercenaries after me to kill me in the hopes of stopping the bridge from being built." "Why didn't you mention that back at the village?" Tazuna shook his head. "Because that would have upgraded the rank from Genin to Chunin. I couldn't afford that." "You know we have these rankings for a reason, correct? What you've done is a form of fraud, and it's illegal. I have every right to arrest you right now and return us all to Konoha." "Please, don't," the old man pleaded. "I can't go back. If you don't protect me, I'll be killed and the bridge will never be finished. We need your help. I couldn't afford a Chunin team, so I lied, and I'm sorry for that, but I didn't feel like I had a choice. Please, you have to understand." Kakashi squeezed his tear ducts to try and calm the headache he was beginning to develop. "I understand that, sir. I'm not going to arrest you at this time, but we are going back to Konoha. We can't continue. These are inexperienced genin, and this mission puts their lives in danger." "With all due respect, Kakashi-sensei," Naruto said from behind, "didn't you say that we as shinobi are civil servants, and that no job is too big or too small?" Kakashi rubbed the nape of his neck. "Well, yes, I did say that, but we do need to weigh our own experience level, the type of mission this is, and our success rate. I would be an irresponsible mentor if I let you all throw your lives away for a mission like this." Naruto looked back. "Look at Sasuke, Kakashi-sensei. He alone defeated those two mercenaries. I won't say we're not experienced, but we are strong. I am roughly equal to Sasuke in power. I just froze, and that won't happen again. This mission could offer us proper experience and help us grow as shinobi." Kakashi thought about it. "I don't know." "Please, Kakashi-sensei," Naruto begged, attempting to turn on his biggest eyes and his most adorable stare. Kakashi relented. "Fine. If you want to complete this mission, we will. But you will all listen to every word I say without question. And if I say we're done and are leaving, we are. And if I tell you to run, you run. Do not bring pride into this. If you die, it's shame on my name, so you listen to everything I have to say and let me do the fighting, alright?" Every member of Team 7 agreed, and so they continued upon their way to the Land of Waves. As they went along though, they found Zabuza, who was there to kill Tazuna. Kakashi put his hand out to stop the others. "Remember, I do all the fighting." They agreed and got back. Kakashi would step up to Zabuza and begin to battle him, and this battle goes almost exactly as you remember it. Kakashi teases Zabuza with his Sharingan, but in the end is caught in a water prison. He can see outside, but can't push out of it. He's stuck. He can't speak and can hardly signal. He knows his team is going to attempt to rescue him, and he can't make them stop. He slowly begins to lose consciousness. He passes through darkness and begins to believe that he's going to die, but a moment later, he opens his eyes and sees the others standing around him. What? What happened? He sits up. They tell him that they rescued him by outsmarting Zabuza and forcing him to remove his hand, and that a Kirigakure ninja appeared and killed Zabuza, taking his body. Kakashi is relieved, but at the same time, he's completely completely enraged. "You should have left me behind," he shouted. "You should have ran. You should have prioritized your lives over mine." "And what about Tazuna?" Naruto asked. "He would have run with you. You should know as well as we do that if we ran, Zabuza would have caught up to us and killed us anyway," Sasuke said. "If we ran, we would have died. The only chance we had was to free you before you were killed." Kakashi calmed down a bit, unable to argue with that logic. Perhaps he underestimated his team a bit. "Well, it's in the past now. Come on, let's get to the village." Kakashi attempted to stand, but his legs almost went out from under him. They were like jello. Tazuna caught him. "What's wrong?" the old man asked. Kakashi shook his head and realized his Sharingan was still exposed. He quickly covered it. "My Sharingan takes a lot of my chakra since I wasn't naturally born with it. I can't shut it off, so I have to cover it to preserve chakra. I overexerted myself." Tazuna doesn't entirely understand everything Kakashi says, but realizes that he overworked himself and is dangerously tired. Tazuna would help carry Kakashi back to his home where he would let him rest. Kakashi would sleep for quite some time to regain his strength. All the while, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura would train as they normally did. But the day eventually came when Kakashi awakened and would tell Tazuna that he was ready to protect him further. And so the group heads to the bridge, as of yet still under construction. There, they would wait until trouble rolls around. Zabuza and Haku appear. Double trouble. Kakashi knows that this rematch is going to be brutal. Haku passes by him toward the other group. Kakashi knows he can't handle them both. He hopes that this team can at least survive long enough for him to finish off Zabuza. Once again, they fight, and the battle goes as it does in the original series. However, when Sasuke hits the ground and it looks like he died, Naruto doesn't awaken the Nine Tails. Naruto, in his rage, stands and rushes one of the mirrors only to be struck by Senbon, causing him also to fall. Zabuza realizes this and stops his battle with Kakashi, telling him that now Naruto and Sasuke are defeated and he holds them as hostages. Unless Kakashi turns Tazuna over, he will have Naruto and Sasuke killed. Kakashi looks back at them and then back to Zabuza. He couldn't do it. Even if his team were Genin, he wouldn't give up his charge to save them, could he? He thought back about it. What would Obito do? In the shinobi world, those that break the written and unwritten rules are deemed trash. But be that as it may, those who would disregard their comrades so easily are even worse than trash. That was something that Kakashi had always said, what he'd been taught by Obito. But could he really sacrifice Tazuna for this? It was a conundrum to be sure, and one Kakashi didn't think he had a way to answer. But thankfully, he didn't have to. Tazuna appeared and did so for him. He turned himself over to Zabuza in hopes of protecting Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. "Wait, Tazuna, you don't have to do this," Kakashi shouted. Tazuna looked back. "I do, Kakashi, I do. I lied on the form. I said that this was just going to be a mission protecting me from bandits, but it was far worse. I put you all in this position where you could die protecting me against threats you were not ready for. If I can save your lives by sacrificing my own, then consider it my atonement for putting you in this position in the first place." Zabuza would then kill Tazuna. Naruto and Sasuke would be freed by Haku, and Kakashi was allowed to flee with his team back to Konoha, where they reported the mission to have been of a greater grade than originally anticipated, and that the outcome of the mission was failure. Hiruzen thankfully understood. He would dismiss them from the debriefing and allow them to go back to their lives. However, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura were not quite the same after that. "Kakashi-sensei," Naruto would ask, "is this what you meant when you said that you would never be the same when you watch people die?" Kakashi would nod to Naruto. "Indeed. Death is a very unfortunate part of what we do as shinobi. Sometimes we're forced to kill. Sometimes we're forced to die. Sometimes we're forced to watch people we care about die and wonder if we could have done something to prevent it. There's so many things that run through our minds when these things happen, and it's easy to lose yourself in a sea of unpleasant thoughts." "How do you get past the guilt?" Naruto asked. Kakashi thought about it. "I can't say that I ever have. The best we can do is have faith that we did our best, and that what happened wasn't our fault." "But sensei, it was our fault. If I didn't push us to continue that mission, Tazuna wouldn't have died." Kakashi looked down. "We can't be sure of that. There's a chance he would have had to go back to the Land of Waves all by himself, and would have died along the way. It's impossible to say for certain, but I know that we tried our best to save him. Take some solace in that, in knowing that we fought to save him, and then just learn to cope with the guilt." "Is this what we're going to have to see more of when we're deployed for the 4th Shinobi World War?" Naruto asked. Kakashi merely nodded. "Yes. But it's important to realize that you're human and you make mistakes. Just promise to do your best and try to leave it all on the battlefield." Naruto agreed, and that was the end of the conversation. Kakashi was pleased to see that Naruto had grown to understand the gravity of this situation. The whole team had. Naruto was right about one thing. They had achieved invaluable experience from this. Their abilities displayed during the mission in fighting the Demon Brothers, Zabuza, and Haku had proven to Kakashi that they were above the expected range for Genin. He knew that they soon would be brought in for the Chunin exams, and that they'd be sent to the battlefield after that, and so they were. They were tested for the Chunin exams and prepared for their first sortie against the forces of Kumo. But before they could leave the village, word reached the Hokage's door. The Nine-Tails has reappeared. Hiruzen was shocked. It's reappeared. The shinobi nodded. Hiruzen smiled as he realized that with the Nine-Tails, they could finally once again possess a deterrent and possibly end the war. But suddenly, that smile turned into a scowl. Launch an emergency operation. Call up any forces Konoha has on standby. Team 7 were called up and brought into HQ to speak with Ibiki Marino, head of intelligence. Marino would inform them that they were placing Team 7 at the center of the mission. Team 7, of course, was confused as to why they would be at the center of this, but Marino explained to them simply that they were the best shot they had of controlling the Nine-Tails. Sasuke Uchiha is the last of the Uchiha, and is one of the few people to possess the Sharingan. Kakashi Hatake also possesses not only the Sharingan, but its Mangekyo form, and could possibly cast the beast under Genjutsu just long enough. And young Naruto Uzumaki is an Uzumaki, and possesses access to all of the natural sealing techniques that they have. I can't, Naruto said. I've hardly studied sealing jutsu. That's okay, Marino said. We have another team that possesses knowledge of sealing jutsu on with you. But you, as an Uzumaki, are the only one to possess adamantine chain. You've developed them, yes? Naruto nodded. Lord Hiruzen made me train with them, saying it was part of my culture and bloodline, and that it was my birthright to know it. Marino would nod. That's fine. That's all we ask you to use. Given that your mother was the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, you've been identified as capable of controlling the beast. So the plan goes like this. Team 7 will be the main point of contact. Our Konoha Nin will prioritize protecting Team 7 from not only the tailed beast, but any hostile forces that could possibly be in the area. Sasuke and Kakashi will get close enough to the beast and activate their Sharingan and Mangekyo Sharingan and begin weaving Genjutsu to try and subdue the beast mentally. Naruto will then use adamantine chains to hold the beast down and will, along with aid from the sealing team, pull the Nine-Tails into his body and safely reclaim Konoha's greatest asset. We will then return to Konoha, where we will plan next moves in ending the war. Kakashi nodded. We will do everything in our power to play our parts perfectly. And so they began to mobilize. There was a forest to the northwest of Konoha, where the beast was said to have been last, so they made their way there. Before they even got within a mile of the predicted location, they could see the beast. Naruto saw it in the distance and pissed himself then and there to his embarrassment. It wasn't as if Kakashi could blame him though. Kakashi wanted to piss himself too. Focus on the mission at hand. We have a plan, Naruto. Nobody's going to die. Naruto gulped and nodded. They began to make their way toward the beast. Marino would get a message over his headset. He would turn to Team 7. Be advised. Unknown forces have been located in the area. Is it Kumo, Suna, or Oto? Kakashi asked. Marino would listen to the report further. Unconfirmed. All we know is that unknown combatants have been engaged to the east of this location. Proceed with caution. They would continue making their way until they were within range of the beast. Kakashi looked at Sasuke and nodded. Get to a high location and attempt to make eye contact. Stay on radio. When I give you the signal, activate your flare. It'll hopefully draw the Nine-Tails' attention. Have Genjutsu ready. The moment you make eye contact with them, begin casting it. Naruto, stay in the forest until we give you the signal, then begin sealing. Naruto nodded. They began the operation. Kakashi climbed into a tall tree near the Eye of Kurama and then called out to Sasuke over the radio asking for his position. Sasuke would say that he was in position. Kakashi would ask if he were ready with the rehearsed Genjutsu. Sasuke stated he was. Kakashi would then give the signal and the two of them would activate their flares. The massive pupils of the Nine-Tails turned in their directions. It first met with Sasuke, who began laying the groundwork for the Genjutsu. It then turned to Kakashi, whose Mangekyo Sharingan cemented the Genjutsu's hold and kept it there. The two different Sharingan of both Kakashi and Sasuke appeared within the eyes of the Nine-Tails. Kakashi gave the signal to Naruto. Naruto rushed out with the team. Suddenly, Kakashi told Naruto to abort. Abort? What? Why? The Nine-Tails broke free from Sasuke's Genjutsu first and then Kakashi's. Naruto pulled back. What? Kakashi stood there, and across the trees from him was an unknown enemy combatant that seemed to have broken through their defenses. He wore a black cloak and a spiral mask. I appreciate you locating it for us, but that beast is ours. Kakashi stood there cautiously. What have you done with Sasuke? The masked man scoffed. I've done nothing, but I can't promise that Itachi hasn't. Kakashi's eyes widened. Itachi! Elsewhere, Sasuke stood there in awe as a flock of crows came together in a distant tree and formed into Itachi. Sasuke's face turned into a scowl. His teeth grit together. Itachi looked around. I see you still haven't attained the Mangekyo Sharingan. Shame. I had high hopes that you would actually become something resembling a challenge to me. Sasuke leapt from the branch in Itachi's direction, attempting to strike him. Itachi caught Sasuke's fists and used his momentum to throw him into a nearby tree. Sasuke bounced off the bark and landed on a branch where he attempted to get his bearings. Itachi spoke again. This is shameful. You disgrace your clan and your family name, but worst of all, you disrespect me. You dare carry the same genetics as I and refuse to grow stronger? You're nothing but an insult to me. Perhaps I should kill you here and now and wipe the stain of the Uchiha from the face of the earth. Then I can claim your eyes and reach the peak of potential that no shinobi has ever before attained. Sasuke went in to attack again. Kakashi rushed out to the masked individual as the two clashed kunai. You're strong, the masked man said, but it's too bad that you've lost your edge. The man passed through Kakashi entirely, becoming intangible. Below, Naruto had decided to forget about Genjutsu and go ahead with sealing the beast. Despite them telling him no, the sealing team rushed out there with him to protect him. Naruto began to launch adamantine chains to bind the beast. The masked man saw this and would cast Kurama under Genjutsu. He would then order the beast to fight back in an intelligent way. Naruto was struck by the Nine Tails, knocked back quite a ways and knocked out. Jinchuriki candidate down, one of the sealing team members said over the headset. Naruto, Kakashi cried out. He would once more begin to attempt to strike the masked man. He would activate Chidori and rush him, but would pass right through, breaking through a few trees until eventually his hand got caught. He fought to pull it free, but the masked man was already behind him. You're nothing like you used to be, a shell of your former self. Kakashi broke free and turned around, swinging a kunai at the man. How do you know me? The man dodged back. I've been watching you the whole time. Kakashi attempted to understand how this intangibility worked. The more it was displayed for his Sharingan, the more he began to understand it. But even more, he noticed that when he would strike at the man would dodge it, and his eye would shift into a design not too far different from Kakashi's own Mangekyo. If it was possible that this masked man had stolen the other eye from Obito's corpse, then that meant that their abilities were likely linked. That meant this intangibility worked on the same wavelength as Kakashi's Kamui. If he focused it right, he might be able to cancel out the technique with his own Kamui. So Kakashi once again attempted a Chidori. He would rush the man. The man would sigh at how ignorant Kakashi was and prepared to turn intangible. But as Kakashi came in, he activated his Kamui and managed to strike the man in the right shoulder. The man cried out in pain and pulled himself free. He stood there, looking at Kakashi. It seems you're as clever as ever. The man's pure white arm fell from his sleeve like melted ice cream. I would play more, but I have more pressing matters to attend to, he said. The man would disappear, teleporting out with Kamui. Kakashi would rush back to the battle to see the man and Itachi standing atop the head of the Nine Tails. They would suddenly disappear as the masked man pushed his Kamui to its limits beyond anything Kakashi thought was possible. They teleported out, along with the Nine Tails. Kakashi stood there. Status. One of the sealing team members would reply over the radio. Naruto's down. He's in critical condition. He needs medical attention immediately. Kakashi then called out for Sasuke. Sasuke, respond. What's your status? There was no answer. Does anyone have eyes on Sasuke? Kakashi asked. He received no response. He would then make his way to the location where Sasuke was last seen. When he got there, he found Sasuke slumped up against a tree. Kakashi rushed over to check on him. He was still alive, but by the look in his eye, he was under Genjutsu, likely Tsukuyomi. Kakashi gathered him up and made his way back to the group where he saw Naruto bloodied and bruised, a few bones protruding from his flesh. Oh, my soul, was all Kakashi could say. Everyone, get to this location. We need an emergency escape. What remained of their forces reconglomerated around them. They would then have the personal guard that had served under Minato Namikaze utilize the flying Raijin Jutsu to teleport them back to Konoha. There, they would have Naruto and Sasuke admitted to the hospital. Sasuke was in intensive care and Naruto was in the operating room almost immediately where they were performing emergency surgery, not only to reconstruct his broken body, but to stop the internal bleeding and relieve pressure on his brain from the traumatic head injury he had received. This left Kakashi feeling helpless. All he could do was wait and watch. It wasn't long until Hiruzen appeared. How is he? Hiruzen asked. Kakashi looked to him. He's still in surgery now. His chances are about 50-50. Sasuke hasn't woken up, but seeing how long as he's been under and considering what Itachi's capable of, they're predicting severe psychological damage. Hiruzen would rub his temples and sigh. What's the mission status? The unknown group that Itachi and the masked man were a part of took the Nine Tails. Hiruzen shook his head. That was our last chance to end this war peacefully. Kakashi nodded. Konoha is losing ground fast. Hiruzen continued. I don't know how much longer we can last. We need to figure something out, or I fear Konoha will lose this war, and the village will cease to exist. The sound of a hissing pump could be heard as a heart monitor's beeping sounded from within the room. The little pump rose and depressed, pushing air through a tube going down Naruto's throat. An aged hand reached down for the clipboard and looked it over. TBI. Brain swelling. fractures of the C6, C7, and TH1 vertebra of the upper spinal cord, as well as the TH12, I1, I2, and I3 vertebra of the lower. He continued to read a list of fractures, splinters, and shattering within the bone, and trauma and internal bleeding to various internal organs. Cerebral edema. He looked at Naruto's head and saw where they had to remove part of his cranial cap to manage swelling. Currently, it was back on and in the process of healing. Thankfully, that seemed to be mostly taken care of, but there were various issues and complications, and now, even though Naruto was alive, it was questionable if he would ever wake again, or if he would remain a vegetable all of his life. Sasuke was still under as well. He was only semi-conscious, his eyes open, but nobody home, basically drooling into a cup. Jiraiya couldn't help but feel terrible about the whole situation. To see the son of his former student and his closest friend in this state, Jiraiya didn't know who had it worse at current. He knew that physically speaking, Naruto had it worse, but mentally it could be Sasuke. There was a chance Sasuke may never wake up again, and considering how Tsukuyomi affected time within a genjutsu, it could be possible that Sasuke was suffering through 10,000 years of non-stop physical torture. There was no telling how long Sasuke could hold out, depending on how bad it was. People often said that genjutsu was all smoke and mirrors, and that illusions could never hurt you, but Jiraiya knew better. He knew that the longer someone spent in a hellish genjutsu, the closer the body came to giving up and completely rejecting life as a whole. The mind was what made a person. Attacking it essentially attacked the essence of a person directly, their spirit. And if they managed to kill their spirit, the body would soon follow. It was then that Kakashi walked in. "Oh, Master Jiraiya, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were in here. I can come back later if you need time." Jiraiya shook his head. "No, it's fine. These are your students after all." Kakashi walked in and looked over to see Sakura sitting by Sasuke's bed, waiting in a chair. She was asleep, her hand in his. It was sad as there was nobody here to see Naruto. "Actually, a little Hyuga girl was in here just earlier. I watched her leave as I got here. Appeared to be the clan heiress if my eyes didn't deceive me." Kakashi stood there. "The doctors say they've done everything possible to save them, and nothing's worked. It looks like Sasuke and Naruto will both be left like this." Jiraiya shook his head. "No, they've not done everything. If they can be healed, I know of one person who can help." "Tsunade," Hiruzen questioned from his chair at the Hokage's desk. Jiraiya nodded. "You know how good Tsunade was as a medical nin during the previous wars. Surely she could help us." Hiruzen shook his head. "It'll never happen." "What? Why?" Hiruzen looked down. "Tsunade has retired." "Then pull her ass out of retirement," Jiraiya said. "This is an emergency, and only she can save these lives." Hiruzen looked up once more. "I don't think that will change anything. I asked her to be our Surgeon General during the war, but she refused. After she lost Dan, she can't even stomach looking at blood. She can't perform surgery anymore, and so she retired from being a medical nin and took a retirement in Tenzuka quarters." "Let me talk to her. I can bring her back," Jiraiya said. "I don't think that's possible, Jiraiya," Hiruzen told him. "But if you plan to go, I suggest you don't go alone." "I'm a big boy, old man Hiruzen. I can take care of myself." "No, I insist. Take Kakashi with you," Hiruzen said. "He has experience with things like this. He could be invaluable to you. I'll only approve the mission if you take him with you." Jiraiya huffed. "Fine. Just make sure he doesn't get in my way." And so the two began to head out. They made their way toward Tenzuka quarters where they hoped to find Tsunade. As they walked, they began to speak a bit. "So tell me, what kind of person has Naruto become?" Kakashi thought about it. "He's a lot like his father, but he's prideful. Naruto doesn't like to lose, but more so, I think that he's afraid of letting his father down and ruining his legacy. But he has the capacity to learn, and is always looking into any possible flaws he has and hoping to correct them. He's at least honest with himself, and that reminds me a bit of Minato-sensei." Jiraiya nodded. Minato was indeed the same way. He was always striving to become better, whether it was to make Jiraiya himself look good as a master, or because he just hated imperfections within himself, he didn't know. But it certainly did remind him of Minato. "And what of the other boy we're trying to save? The Uchiha?" "Oh, you mean Sasuke? I would say he's Naruto's equal and opposite, the yin to Naruto's yang. Sasuke is talented on his own, but his drive is to destroy someone in his family, and he continually trains for that." "Curse of hatred, huh?" Jiraiya said. This caught Kakashi's eye. "Huh?" Jiraiya looked back. "Oh? You've never heard of the curse? Well, it's something that the Uchiha have had for countless generations. How it started, I'm not entirely sure. I believe that the Toad Sage mentioned something about one of the Sage of Six Paths' sons. But basically, the Uchiha have very fragile hearts and don't take rejection or loss well. In other words, if you hurt something they love, They turn all that love into hatred and focus it on their enemy. Then Sasuke must have been hurt really bad, Kakashi added on, because I've never seen anyone hate any other living being like Sasuke hates Itachi. Jiraiya nodded. It's something to watch out for. While it may not be any of our business, if you truly care for Sasuke, you need to find a way to break him from that, or it'll lead to only suffering. The two continued to walk until they reached the place where they were going, Tanzuka Quarters. Upon entering the town, you couldn't even tell that there was a war going on. No armed shinobi walking around or anything. Not that any could tell. That was not to say that there were no armed warriors. This place has been run by the mafia for years, Jiraiya said. They don't need shinobi, they have muscle. Kakashi nodded. They continued to walk on. As they did, Jiraiya looked at a list of places they had received where Tsunade was likely to be. Jiraiya looked up and saw one of the places on the slip of paper. A bar. If I know Tsunade, and I do, she'll be in here. Jiraiya led Kakashi in. Walking into the bar, they began to search for Tsunade. They would ask a bartender about it, and he would point her out. She's in the corner booth. She drank herself silly last night and fell asleep at the table. Jiraiya thanked the man and walked over to her with Kakashi. He sat down at the booth as Kakashi pulled up a chair. The jostling of the table stirred Tsunade, who spoke in a stupor. She's taken. Jiraiya sat there for a moment. Tsunade, we need you to come back to the village. You need Tsunade, she said with a slur. Nobody needs Tsunade anymore. Her head fell back down on the table. Jiraiya looked at the bartender, who was slowly shaking his head. Jiraiya stood and helped get Tsunade on her feet. He would then drop a tip on the table for the waiter. Jiraiya and Kakashi would then take her back to her apartment, where they would lay her on the couch and give her an aspirin. She took the pills and lay there for 30 to 45 minutes, getting a bit of a nap in before Jiraiya had enough and shook her awake. She sat up. Damn, Jiraiya, what's the big deal? The big deal is that I have 2 suffering patients who are dying, and only you can save them. Tsunade rubbed her eyes and tried to focus on Jiraiya. I'll tell you what I told Hiruzen. I'm done with the medical field. I'm not going back. This wasn't a question, Tsunade. She looked at him. Oh, is it not? Jiraiya shook his head. It's not. I didn't drag myself through hell and half a Suna just to be told no by you. Did you forget how many organs I ruptured the last time you tried to make me do something I didn't want to do? Care for a repeat performance? Calm down, Kakashi said as he stood from his seat. Miss Tsunade, I'm sorry that we dropped in unannounced and disturbed you, but we really need your help. Kakashi pulled out a picture of Team 7 grouped together and handed it to her. See there? That's Naruto, Minato's son. And the scowling one, that's Sasuke, the last Uchiha. Both are gravely injured and aren't expected to regain consciousness. Tsunade looked at the picture and gave it back. I'm sorry about that, but as I said, I'm retired. Even if I did go back with you, there's nothing I could do. I can't look at blood anymore, not since dawn. It makes me want to throw up and I get shaky, and that's not something a good medical nin does. A good medical nin needs to have a steady hand, no matter how brutal the injury that they're facing. I can't do that anymore, and therefore have lost my qualification to be a practitioner of the medical arts. Then what do you suppose we do? Jiraiya asked. Without you, these boys will die. Tsunade rested her head in her hand. Give me a moment. I'll call my student, Shizune. She's a medical nin of such high caliber that it's not even funny. I may have been a prodigy when I was still young, but Shizune comes really close to that. And if I may be so bold, I dare say that she's the best physician in the world besides me. Best by a long shot. I'll call her up and tell her that this is why I trained her. She'll go back with you. Jiraiya sighed. It wasn't what he came for, but if this is all he could get, it was better than nothing. Fine. Call her up. She better be as good as you say she is. If these 2 boys die because you refuse to help us, I'll never forgive you. Tsunade picked up the phone and dialed Shizune's number. Yeah? Shizune, I have a favor to ask. Once more, Kakashi and Jiraiya returned to Konoha, but this time they had Shizune in tow. They brought her straight to Konoha General, where she began to examine Naruto and Sasuke. Can you help them? Kakashi asked. Shizune nodded. I have a few tricks up my sleeve. I should be able to do it. Just give me time to get scrubbed up and I'll begin treatment. After this, time passes for a while until Shizune finally finishes what she's doing. She leaves the boys to rest, letting Kakashi and Jiraiya watch over them. As they do, Kakashi speaks. Jiraiya, I have a personal favor to ask. Jiraiya looked up from his chair. What is it? I want you to teach Naruto and Sasuke. Jiraiya almost looked amused by this. No, my days of training others are behind me. Please, Kakashi said. Earlier you told me that we needed to get a hold of Sasuke's hate or it would ruin us. I think if he trains with you and Naruto, that might remind him of what's most important. Please. As a favor to both me and Minato-sensei, will you train them? Jiraiya thinks about it. If they wake up, I'll consider it. And from there, it was a waiting game. Sasuke would be the first to wake up, and due to the form of injury he suffered though, they had to give him extensive mental health evaluations. He managed to pass them. He explained that the Tsukuyomi wasn't as bad as it seemed. He just watched his parents' murder on loop. He stated that it wasn't something he hadn't already done every day since it happened. Naruto took a little while longer though. He was out for quite a few more days before he did finally reawaken. As soon as he did, they did a mental evaluation on him to make sure that he hadn't received any brain damage. He seemed to be okay for the most part and had no massive ill effects from the injury. As soon as they figured out that he was okay, they gave him the green light to leave. But the wars raged on, and the Nine Tails was in the hands of someone else. It was becoming increasingly obvious that Konoha would lose the war if it did not regain control of the Nine Tails at some point. And so, Konoha's military strategies changed to prolonging the war as long as possible until they could regain control of the beast. And to that end, a group of shinobi were formed with the specific role to hunt down the Akatsuki. At this time, Jiraiya would remember his promise to teach Naruto and Sasuke and would take them aside and ask if they would like to learn from him. Of course, the answer was yes. For Naruto, he's now training under the man who trained his father, and for Sasuke, there's no greater honor than to be training under one of the legendary Sannin. And so, for a time, Naruto and Sasuke leave the village together to train with Jiraiya. When they got there, he attempted to teach them different techniques and abilities, one of which was the Rasengan. Naruto is excited to learn this new technique, especially when he's told that his father created it. This excitement only seems to slow him down though, as his need to learn it and the excitement in seeing that he's one step closer to being as strong as his father pushes him to try and learn it way too fast, which ultimately leads to him failing more times than he should. Eventually, Jiraiya tells him that he needs to calm down and simply learn instead of trying to emulate his father to a T, and because of this, Naruto begins to pick it up. Sasuke, however, has an issue in managing to control it. Jiraiya takes note of this. He thinks about it. Sasuke looks up at him. I don't know if you can learn the Rasengan, at least not yet. But you think Naruto can, Sasuke said, pointing to Naruto, who seemed to be struggling as well. Jiraiya looked over. There are signs of people who can or people who can't do a technique from the start. Naruto has the signs that makes me believe that he'll soon manage it. I don't know if you can though. That's absurd, Sasuke shouts. I can learn it. Jiraiya rubs his temples. I'm not saying you'll never do it, but right now, you can't. What I mean by this is that your chakra is wild and out of control. You can't conglomerate it into a single packed sphere because it's so unruly. Maybe one day you'll learn it, but not now. You're not able to. That doesn't mean that there's not a technique for you to do though. Sasuke stood there, obviously upset, but he listened anyway. There's a technique that makes use of your strongest traits. It was actually invented by your master, Kakashi. It's a variation of the Rasengan. You see, when Minato created the Rasengan, he felt it was incomplete as a jutsu, but never could finish it. And so your master, Kakashi, attempted to. He too failed, but in doing so, he created a technique based on the Rasengan that I believe you could learn. It's called Chidori. Sasuke listened closely. Naruto ran over to take a listen too. The user pours lightning-style chakra into their chakra-shaped manipulation, and this creates a blade made out of pure electricity. It has high speed and high piercing power. In some cases, many would consider it a superior jutsu to the Rasengan, which is simply shape manipulation of chakra. The issue is, you would need to learn lightning release, which is tough to master, but at least won't require quite as much chakra control as this. Can I learn this technique too? Naruto asks. Jiraiya looks to Naruto. You haven't even finished the Rasengan. You think you're ready to move on to this? Well, I mean, if there's similar techniques, can't I just learn them both at the same time? Step off, Naruto. You already have your thing, Sasuke said. Jiraiya shook his head. Naruto, even if you did, you couldn't use this technique well. The speed that comes with this jutsu is only manageable by someone with the Sharingan, meaning this technique is better suited for Sasuke anyway. Only he can truly master it. This brought a smile to Sasuke's face. Jiraiya would then begin instructing both Sasuke and Naruto differently. From here, after a good bit of training, the two managed to complete their own techniques. Sasuke is able to use the Chidori, which boosts his speed incredibly. Naruto also masters the Rasengan, which fills him with pride, though he has yet to give up on his dream of completing his father's signature jutsu. After this, Jiraiya gathers the two together. Now that we've managed this, I think it's time I taught you both something new. The two sit down in front of Jiraiya as the man begins to speak again. There's something called Sage Mode. It's a powerful ability that relies upon introducing senjutsu to the system. It can be used to increase the senses and further increase the strength of the user. The two boys seem to grow excited about this, but Sasuke is in for disappointment once more. Sadly, I'll only be teaching this technique in its entirety to Naruto. What? Sasuke seems frustrated. Jiraiya kneels down to speak. I can teach you how to absorb and use Sage energy, Sasuke, but I can't teach you Sage mode yet. And why not, Sasuke asks. Because Sage mode, like the Rasengan, requires expert chakra control, and that goes beyond what the Rasengan requires. For me, being able to do the Rasengan at all is basically a prerequisite, and since you can't do it, I can't teach you to use the power boosting Sage mode like I plan to teach Naruto. Sasuke seems all the more disappointed. Jiraiya puts his hand on his shoulder. Sasuke, I can't teach you all the same things I teach Naruto. This doesn't mean you're weak or can never do it. It simply means that you have different strengths. And your strength you need to focus on right now is evolving that dojutsu of yours. Sasuke looked up. You mean achieve a Mangekyo Sharingan? Jiraiya nods. That's the natural evolution of your personal strength that only you have. But that will require loss. Jiraiya shakes his head. No, you must train to let go of your pain and hatred. A Mangekyo Sharingan awakened by pain and loss will be subject to the curse of hatred that flows in your veins. You must overcome the curse and break its hold on you. You must learn to let go of your hatred. And if you do that, you'll awaken a Mangekyo Sharingan that won't consume you as it does others. How do I do that? Sasuke asked. You do that by discovering the darkness within you, the hatred that the curse is bound to, and destroying it. You must replace it with love. Awaken your Mangekyo, not with pain of loss, but by need to protect what you love. A Mangekyo Sharingan awoken by love is far stronger. And so Jiraiya brought Sasuke to a spot near his house, a place overflowing with nature energy. He sat him there. Meditate and find your darkness. Conquer it. Jiraiya would then return to Naruto and have him start training to master Sage mode. As he did, Sasuke would continue to meditate. It wasn't very hard for him to find his darkness. After all, it had been a central part of him since his early childhood. How could Jiraiya ask him to destroy that? Was he really going to destroy a central part of himself? He looked into the darkness and saw Itachi's Sharingan glowing there. He was filled with anger. How could he simply let go of this? It was then that he felt something, a hand on his shoulder. He turned back and saw Fugaku standing there. Father. Fugaku looked down at him and smiled. The little bit of chakra left over from me, housed within you, is being fed by the nature energy, it seems, giving me a chance to talk with you once more. Sasuke stood there. He looked at Itachi in the distance. Is he an illusion? Sasuke asked. Fugaku shook his head. No, this too is a part of him. The part of him that lives inside of you. The part of him you built a shrine of anger around. Sasuke went to walk toward it, as if to attack this vision of Itachi, only to be pulled back by Fugaku. Look closely, Sasuke. Don't let your Sharingan be blinded by hatred, as all of ours have been. Sasuke looked closer once more to see that Itachi was crying. Huh? Fugaku let go of Sasuke. Your subconscious remembers, doesn't it? His subconscious does as well. Sasuke walked over to the shade of his brother slowly and looked upon the tears. Why do you cry? Are you finally remorseful? Do you finally feel as alone as I do? Fugaku then called out to Sasuke. Don't be deceived by only what your eyes can see. The true Sharingan sees with the heart. Sasuke looked back. No, you did this once before. When we were alone, after you killed everyone, you cried. Why? Itachi did not speak. What's wrong with him? Sasuke asked Fugaku. He's sworn to silence. He cannot speak without hurting others, and the pain he's caused has built up within him. If he doesn't speak, he's filled with pain. If he does speak, he'll fill others with pain. He'll fill you with pain. Sasuke looked back. Speak. Tell me what's on your mind then. I can't. You're not ready for the pain we hold. We, Sasuke asked. He looked over at Fugaku, who nodded. We. Only he and I know what truly happened that day. Sasuke looked at Fugaku and approached him. Tell me. Fugaku shook his head. It's not for me to tell. It's Itachi's. Tell him, son. Itachi's tears turned to blood as his eyes shifted to Mangekyo. This blood is symbolic. The streams of blood symbolize the heart and its pain, and the blindness within symbolize one's ability to close off and eventually stop feeling. Stop seeing. I hurt so many people, and I did it to protect love, to protect everything. I chose the lesser of two evils. Sasuke continued to listen. I did not kill the Uchiha of my own accord, but by the will of Konoha. Sasuke's nostrils flared with rage. He looked to Fugaku, who confirmed it. Slowly his anger continued to boil, and his desire for revenge grew in his heart. No, Itachi said as he looked upon Sasuke. Don't feel that way. You don't understand. Sasuke was confused. The need to destroy the Uchiha was born of the Uchiha themselves. Sasuke looked to Fugaku, who walked forward and began speaking. The Uchiha were blinded by our hate, and planned a coup, unaware that doing such a thing would have destroyed Konoha. We became an enemy within and gave Konoha no choice. Sasuke looked to Itachi. I had to choose. Save our clan or save our village. Konoha had to decide too. Nobody wanted this. It's what we made them do, Fugaku continued. But why kill everyone? Man, woman, and child included, Sasuke asked. Itachi began to cry harder. Because doing so would have left behind too many people to be consumed by the curse of hatred. The Uchiha are powerful, but our curse makes us unstable. Even one Uchiha was a risk. You were a risk, Sasuke. I was? Sasuke asked. Itachi nodded. I was allowed to spare you for doing the deed, but leaving behind any others would have caused them to grow resentful and attempt to destroy Konoha without care. Fugaku then spoke. Don't hate your brother for this, Sasuke. Don't hate Konoha. If you must hate anyone, hate me. I put us all in this situation with the threat of a coup. Sasuke stood there. Why didn't you tell me? Sasuke asked. Itachi rubbed his eyes. I wanted you to hate me. I wanted you to kill me. I wanted to turn you into the hero I always believed you could be. Sasuke shook his head. That's absurd. If things are as you say, you should be a hero to the village. Itachi shook his head. No, I had to leave. Even if I had been absolved or my part in it covered, I still would not have been able to live with it. That is why I joined the Akatsuki, to feed Konoha information on them in hopes that I would somehow make up for what I had done. Sasuke looked down and thought about these things. He then looked up and began to see a towering figure, a massive shadow looking down at him with red swirls in his eyes, the eyes of a Mangekyo Sharingan. The first Mangekyo Sharingan. In his heart, he felt that this man was the source of the curse of hatred. He was trying to hold on to Sasuke. If you forgive him, the figure said, who will you be? Who will I be? Everything we've done and suffered through up until now will have been for nothing. Who are we without our grudge? Sasuke looked back at Itachi. Time to find out. He hugged Itachi. I forgive you. In that moment, Sasuke awakened with a smile, tears flowing down his cheeks. His eyes opened to show the flower pattern of a Mangekyo Sharingan. In that moment, Sasuke's dream changed. He no longer wished to murder Itachi. He wanted to save him instead. With his Mangekyo awakened, he returned to Jiraiya and Naruto, and for a time, they continued to train. Jiraiya taught Sasuke to take in Sage Energy and mold it for Jutsu, but it was Naruto he taught Sage Mode to. They trained together for 2.5 years before returning to Konoha to find that Hiruzen had finally located the Akatsuki's base of operations. As it turned out, Itachi had provided them with the info they were looking for. The Ninetales was locked away in the mountain's graveyard, the only safe place the Akatsuki could hide it, and so they began to mobilize. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura met up once again alongside Kakashi. And together, the group, along with the clan heads and some of the greatest warriors in the village, planned to launch a secret attack on the base to take the Ninetales. And so, together, they set out for the mountain's graveyard. The group would make it to the location. Sasuke once more was there to help with the pincer attack. He would be the right digit of the claw, while Kakashi would be the left. Sakura would hang back with the medical team, and Naruto, last but not least, was heading up with the sealing team. The Hyuga were there as well. The best that Konoha had to offer was on this strike force. As they drew closer, they began to witness movement. We have confirmation on the Akatsuki, one of the Hyuga clans said, witnessing Hidan and Kakuzu with their Byakugan. Kakashi, the team leader once again, would speak over the radio. Remember the objective. Open up a path for Naruto to get to the Ninetales. Be ready for anything. And so they began to rush the enemy. Sasori and Deidara were the first to attack. Sasori's puppets were plenteous and strong enough to hold them up for a moment, but that was when Sasuke's group came in from behind to end Sasori and Deidara. After this, Team Asuma was left to face Hidan and Kakuzu, but they had backup from the Hyuga. Together they managed to push past them and into the mountain's graveyard itself. There they faced Itachi and Kisame. Sasuke put his hand on Naruto's shoulder. This is my fight. Go on ahead, Naruto. Naruto ran by. Itachi and Kisame didn't even try to stop them. Sasuke took a deep breath and sighed as he activated his Mangekyo Sharingan with a calm and happy smile. From the mere sight of them, Itachi knew that something was different about these Mangekyo. Those eyes. They're different from other Mangekyo Sharingan somehow. Sasuke nodded and smiled. These weren't awakened by hatred, but by love. In letting go of the past and old grudges. These were awakened not by revenge, but by forgiveness. I know your heart, big brother. Kisame nodded as he heard. He looked to Itachi. I know it too. I think I've always known it. Itachi looked to Kisame with a bit of a frown. I'm sorry, Kisame. Truly. Kisame nodded. I suppose I understand, but you know that this means we must fight, right? Itachi nodded. For what it's worth, it really was a pleasure working with you. The pleasure was mine, Itachi Uchiha. Itachi would cross over and stand with Sasuke. Kisame would draw Samehada and prepare to face them. Naruto ran further in but was stopped once again by Tobi. "I see you're alive and kicking." "Which is more than I can say about you in a minute," Naruto said as he activated Sage Mode. Tobi laughed. "I once fought your father. It's going to be interesting fighting you as well." The two rushed at each other, Naruto with his Rasengan. He attempted to strike against Tobi but passed through just as Kakashi told him he would. But instead of attempting to turn back, Naruto simply rolled with it. Literally, Naruto rolled forward to avoid being struck. "Ah, you don't seem surprised. I assume you knew about this ability." Naruto nodded. "You can't be intangible all the time. I'll hit you eventually. Even if it's just once, that's all it'll take." "Then come at me again, son of the Hokage." They charged once more. Naruto threw a kunai at Tobi, which passed clean through. Right before they touched, however, Naruto smiled. Suddenly, he teleported to the kunai, having learned the Flying Raijin. In this moment, he truly felt like his father was with him. He came down with his Rasengan only for it to pass clean through and hit the ground. "What?" Tobi would turn and kick Naruto in the face, knocking him back. Tobi sighed. "Whether you did that intentionally or not, I witnessed the exact same move from your father nearly 16 years ago." As Naruto rose to fight again, he felt a hand rest upon his shoulder for a moment as a person passed him by. He looked up. "Kakashi-sensei, what are you doing here?" "I managed to break past the Akatsuki. Trust me, it was no easy feat, but I thought you might need my help." He looked at Tobi and then spoke. "I realized after our last meeting that you and I were connected, but I couldn't place it until now. You possess Obito's other Sharingan, paired with my own." The man smiled with his only visible eye. "I possess more than just Obito's eye." Kakashi looked back at Naruto. "You go on ahead. This one's mine." Naruto nodded and ran past. As he did, Tobi attempted to grab him only for Tobi's hand to go straight through Naruto. Tobi looked back at Kakashi, who had his Mangekyo Sharingan activated. "I know how to beat you," Kakashi said. Naruto ran down the corridors until he reached a large area where the Ninetales was chained up silently. Its eyes possessed the distinctive markings of the Rinnegan in them. Before him stood the 6 Paths of Pain. Naruto stood there silently, waiting for them to do something. "You will go no further," the Diva Path told him. "You should not have come. If you hadn't, then maybe you wouldn't have had to die," the orange-haired man said. Naruto shook his head. "Me coming here is possibly the only thing that keeps my village alive." "How noble," the Diva Path said. "Noble but foolish." The Diva Path would attempt to use Almighty Push on Naruto, but Naruto sensed it coming with his Sage Mode and jumped to the side. He would then create some Shadow Clones, hoping that together they might be able to push back against the 6 Paths of Pain. But as he continued to fight, he became acutely aware that there was another with the same chakra, even stronger chakra, and it was very close by. Naruto began to hypothesize that these bodies were nothing more than remote control puppets, and that the real body was nearby. If he destroyed that, then these should stop functioning. Naruto continued to face the 6 Paths until the Diva Path pushed him away. "You cannot beat us," the Diva Path said. Naruto smiled. "That's fine. I don't need to beat you. I only need to beat your master." Naruto sussed out the location of the real body and used a Shadow Clone's Rasengan to blow a hole in the wall, where he found Nagato's true body. Naruto would raise his hand above his head, where he revealed it. In the time he spent training under Jiraiya, he had completed it. He completed his father's jutsu. He dubbed this new technique the Rasen Shuriken. He would throw it at the true pain, causing a massive explosion that ate up him and everyone nearby. With him gone, the other 6 paths all began to fall. With pain out of the picture, Naruto had a straight shot to the Ninetales. He approached the beast and looked upon it, shackled and chained. "You've always been like this, haven't you?" he said as he looked at it. The creature was no longer under genjutsu, but it wasn't fighting back. It simply seemed depressed. A life in chains is all it had known. Naruto looked down and thought about it. He then looked at the beast. "Ninetales, that night all those years ago, you just wanted to escape, didn't you? You wanted to go home." Once again, it was silent. Naruto continued. "If you'll permit me, I need to use you once more." It looked at him with sorrow in its eyes. Naruto spoke. "You possess great power, Ninetales. Your strength is unrivaled. It's because of this thing that we need you. Without you, there's no way to maintain balance." It looked away from him again. Naruto sighed. "You know, I don't want to see you like this. Perhaps it's selfish of me, but let me ask you this. Please, one last time, help us out of this situation, this war. If you do, I'll give you the freedom you deserve." It did not resist. Naruto sealed it within himself. What he felt when it entered him was a pain unlike anything he'd ever felt before. The remnants of hatred so deep that it was almost self-destructive. All of that, born from sorrow, returned to sorrow. He offered it comfort. and with the Nine Tails now in their possession, all they had to do was sweep up the remnants of the Akatsuki. After that, with the Nine Tails now returned to them, Konoha began to push back. The war raged on, but now Naruto was thrown into the middle of it as the one who had to bring balance once more. In his war against the other villages, he would face their Jinchuriki and show them all why he was strongest. It pained Naruto to kill others like himself, but that was war, even if he didn't like it. And with the defeat of the other nations, Konoha finally had peace. With the treaty signed, Naruto returned home. He would bid his friends farewell in a letter he had left for them, telling them what he had to do and the promise he made to get the war ended. And then Naruto would go off, far away to a mountain, away from the Hidden Leaf village. There he would enter his subconscious and speak with the Nine Tails. You made good on your part of the deal, and so I will as well. I'm gonna let you go now. You deserve your freedom. I ask only this. Please watch over the world in my stead. I know humans abused you and hurt you, but we're young and weak. Please, look past our faults and remember not what we are, but what we can be. Protect them, and when your fellow beasts regenerate, protect them as well. Naruto would then pull the tag and open the seal, setting Kurama free. Kurama would exit from his body and appear in the field before him. Naruto took a deep breath as this happened and expected to perish. But despite this, he did not. He was confused. Looking down at his hands, he realized he didn't feel weak. He looked up. Kurama. The beast looked down at him. I've not met a human like you since the age of the Sage of Six Paths. None ever seemed to show any care for me or my kind. People like you are rare, hard to find. The world needs more of you in it. So please, as the sage taught humans to love, you must as well. In return for my freedom and for your care, I will give you a shred of my chakra. It will keep you alive. Farewell, child of the fourth Hokage, and thank you. And with that, Kurama began to leave. Naruto would smile and take the words to heart. He would begin to gather other like-minded citizens, and they would go out and begin to help the other nations rebuild. They would begin to remind the people of love, and the reasons that they were all the same. Naruto was attempting to erase borders, erase flags, erase everything that set them apart, and remind people of the unity of love and kindness. Through it, he hoped that peace would be restored to the earth. This time, forever. He knew that such a thing likely would not happen, at least not in his lifetime, but he continued to move forward with hope, knowing that the day a new war came, hopefully a new person would arise, one that believed kindness was the key to peace. He had already seen how forgiveness could change lives. He saw how it changed Sasuke's life, how it changed Kurama's life, how it changed his own. After all, Kurama had been the one to kill his parents. But he forgave Kurama, and in doing so, and setting him free, he gained a new friend. He hoped that together they could continue to live and preserve peace for as long as possible. And that's the end of this story. I know I kinda lied in the end, because Naruto did technically become a Jinchuriki, but he certainly didn't start out as one, and he did give it up fairly quickly. The truth is, being a Jinchuriki is in Naruto's bloodline. It's his destiny as an Uzumaki. Naruto becoming the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki is just something that has to happen. But I digress. Anyway, I want to know what you thought of the story. Let me know down in the comments below, and be sure to submit more wonderful ideas like this one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more content like this, and while you're at it, here are some other videos that you might find interesting. Anyway, until next time, peace.